Hello, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil Reacts. I'm Mike King, and I wanted to take a couple minutes and talk about Tristyn Bailey and the Aiden Fucci defense team. Now, as you're aware, Aiden Fucci's defense team waived the preliminary hearing yesterday and moved this case one step forward to the next stage, a preliminary hearing. Now, I've had a number of you reach out and ask questions about the process, so I thought I'd just jump on and explain a couple of things and see if that might help answer a few things. I hope you'll take a moment and hit the like and the subscribe button. Ring that notification bell so that you get updates like this and others as they come out. And then please consider all of our options for channel memberships and other kinds of things. But thank you above all for supporting Profiling Evil. Let's just kind of reiterate a couple of facts about this case. Saturday morning, May 8th, and into the early morning hours of May 9th, the Mother's Day, Tristyn Bailey was seen on CCTV at the Durbin Crossing North Amenity Center at about 1:15 in the morning in the company of Aiden Fucci. Now, the two get out and they start walking in kind of a northerly direction from the center, and they're captured on CCTV security cameras at about 1:30 and 1:45 in the morning, respectively. An hour and 45 minutes later, Fucci's observed leaving the area alone, and he's holding a pair of shoes. Well, by 10 o'clock in the morning, the Bailey family is notifying the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office of a missing child alert. An hour later, a neighbor calls 911 to report that they found a deceased female in the woods near or in a pond. The victim, sadly, is identified as Bailey. Now, Fucci is immediately arrested and charged as a juvenile for second-degree murder, and that charge gets amended when the DA successfully petitions the court to deal with Fucci as an adult, charging him with first-degree murder. Now, he made his initial appearance, and after that first appearance, he was then bound over for an arraignment. He in the first appearance, if you remember, he received his rights. He received notice that if he needed a public defender, because he had counsel at the time, that the state would hire one to represent him. His family declared indigency, and he was given a public defender. And then he was given a formal arraignment date, which was initially scheduled for June 10th, next week. Now, the defense petitioned the court to waive the appearance and accept a plea of not guilty in Fucci's behalf. The court agreed, did so, and Fucci now has a date set for the 28th of July for a preliminary hearing. I wanted to just touch on a couple of these things that are involved in these kinds of cases. So we talked about the initial appearance and what goes on there. I want to now move forward. We talked about the arraignment a little bit, and I want to just cover a couple of things on the arraignment. The arraignment is often the first appearance following an arrest, and it's during the arraignment that Fucci would have been formally advised of the charges against him. Now, we know that occurred, and he discussed it with his lawyers because they came in, entered a not guilty plea in his behalf, and moved it onto the preliminary hearing. Now, arraignments have to occur within a reasonable amount of time after the individual's arrested. It's all part of the Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial. Now, interestingly, Florida has some moratoriums on speedy trials right now going on because of the coronavirus disease, but I still suspect that this case is going to move forward rather quickly in court terms, at least. Now, once the court has advised the defendant of the charges against him, the judge is going to ask how he pleads. And we know that the defendant pled not guilty. In arraignments, the choices are that the defendant can plead not guilty, guilty, or no contest. They call it nolo contendere. Now, as we previously discussed, it's clear that Fucci's defense team, and we now know officially, entered a not guilty plea. So it's usually kind of the normal course of action at this state of the game for the court to decide if they either are going to release the defendant or keep him in jail until the trial. In this case, the judge chose to keep Fucci in jail. So with the arraignment yesterday being waived, the court date of June 10th being suspended because the arraignment was waived, he now is scheduled for a pretrial hearing at 9 o'clock on July 28th. Let's just play a quick news video here and see what
the Florida
media
teen
has to say.
stabbing a 13-year-old girl to death is pleading not guilty. Police in St. Johns County say 14-year-old Aiden Fucci stabbed Tristyn Bailey 114 times on Mother's Day. He's being tried as an adult. If convicted, he could get life in prison.
Now, the hearing, the next stage is going to be this idea of a pretrial hearing. And these hearings, this one is scheduled for the 28th of July. They happen before the trial, and it lays a foundation for everything that's going to come later. Now, in some areas, it's called a pretrial conference, so either one. In these pretrial hearings, the prosecution and defense get the chance to file motions. They decide what evidence can be presented and what things cannot be entered into. They work on plea agreements if that's a possibility. And then the judge also uses this venue to determine if there's enough probable cause for the charge and whether the trial should go forward. These are incredibly crucial processes and can speed up the process from one stage to the next. The next step that would fall in line then is this preliminary hearing. It's like a mini trial. And in these preliminary hearings, the prosecution can call witnesses and introduce evidence. The defense can cross-examine witnesses. However, the defense can't object to using certain kinds of evidence. In fact, evidence is allowed to be presented at the preliminary hearing that may never be allowed to be introduced at a jury trial. So it's really important to recognize this phase can lead to the defense considering plea negotiations, could lead to the court saying there's not enough evidence. And that's a real risk that they take. There's also a risk to the witnesses that have to testify in preliminary hearings because defense attorneys usually have a little more liberty to get into the witness's face. They wouldn't dare do that during a jury trial because they don't want to risk offending a jurist and causing themselves more problems just because someone doesn't like them. So at the conclusion of these preliminary hearings, we then see judges having to decide whether or not they're going to proceed forward in the case with a trial. And then, of course, at the trial, all kinds of information comes out. We see the case come together in a way that makes sense. I hope this process and this explanation kind of helps you understand the process and what to look for as this case continues to roll out. This one is going to be a really interesting case, and we're lucky because thus far, the court has allowed some of the video from the courtroom to be shown publicly. I hope that remains the case, and if so, we'll continue to look for opportunities to play that even live when it makes sense for all of you. So here's the question I have for you. How do you feel about the process in the United States of going from an initial appearance to an arraignment where the charges are levied to a preliminary hearing where evidence is shared and shown to see if there's enough probable cause to go to a trial, and then, of course, the trial phase? If you were the defendant in this case, would you want a jury or not? I'm going to look forward to seeing your comments down below. Thanks for your support of Profiling Evil, and we'll see you soon at the next crime scene.